And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson, thank you for making us a part of your Tuesday. What's going on over there, Ben?
Doing well. How are you?
Don't love 8 o'clock starts, or let me say the day after 8 o'clock starts. But, you know, at least it didn't go to overtime. It was actually a really
quick game.
It was a pretty brisk game as far as
no
games.
free throws. Yeah.
So that's nice. I honestly don't have that much to complain about.
Yeah, especially when you've seen the Lakers and the Thunder, 3 of the last 3 games. Oh. Those guys all shoot a lot of free throws.
Unbearable.
Shea lives at the line. Luka lives at the line. LeBron, not yet, but we'll get back to living at the line. So, yeah, last night was
unbearable.
Really quick.
Steph only took 1 foul shot.
Didn't need to do a lot else. Outside of that 11-0 run to start the game, Warriors were in total control.
You can still, and I suppose this is our job, but you can still learn something from games like that, even though it was like that. Quite vanilla game. After that desert stretch in the second quarter, it just wasn't all that interesting. The Jazz decided to stop doing any sort of offensive basketball for like a 9-minute stretch.
Yeah.
And then the game just wasn't all that interesting after that. But I do think there are things that you can take from it, for sure. So we will get into that. Of course, we have a lot of college football to talk. BYU in position. Honestly, they're in position to go to the playoff. Now, beating Texas Tech might be
it's a requirement.
It's a requirement and not the easiest thing ever. But they're a one-loss team. They belong on that field. There's no reason that they can't beat Texas Tech. Honestly.
Agreed. Other than they showed that they couldn't compete with them earlier this year.
Yeah, but
that's only one game.
It's only one game, and beating a team twice is difficult. And I would think they're going to have a different game plan. I stick to this, and maybe Cougar fans don't like it, or maybe they agree. I don't know. You can always use the call in. I think they had a bad game plan against Texas Tech.
It's possible.
I'm not saying they win by 20 with a better game plan. I don't know. That's impossible to know, of course. But I didn't like their game plan against Texas Tech. It was a little on the prevent defense. What's that philosophy? Like they always say, the prevent defense prevents you from winning.
Yeah. It
was a little bit of the prevent defense.
They played not to lose, if you want to say that.
Okay, that's no, thank you. Thank you. That's a better cliche. They played not to lose. And I don't think you can beat a team like Texas Tech doing that. Like to go with the Utah example, and not to make this BYU convo about Utah, but it's the best example I could think of. Utah played to win against Alabama in the Sugar Bowl.
Oregon in the conference championship game. USC in the conference championship game.
I mean, I don't think that BYU is as overmatched as most folks do with Texas Tech. But my point about that Sugar Bowl, as opposed to those other ones, is Barry Switzer, before that Sugar Bowl, said not one of these guys for Utah would start for Alabama. I mean, it was...
Correct.
I don't know what the Magic Vegas predicting wizard had as the spread going into that game, but Alabama was a heavy favorite. Mm-hmm. Julio Jones and the like. Utah didn't game plan to not make a mistake against a supposedly better opponent or a favorite or somebody who's got better players than you. They came out swinging, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then didn't stop swinging and thus had a blowout win. I don't think BYU had that kind of game plan against a team like Texas Tech. They played like they were playing Alabama and just, okay, we can't mess this up. And I don't think that's how you beat those kind of teams. And I would guess that they learned the lesson and are going to have a different go at it the next time they get to face them, which is the luxury of playing a team twice.
I'm very curious which BYU team shows up. I do think there have been 2 different BYU teams against TCU. You saw one. Maybe the coincidence is that was at home. And I think one against Cincinnati, you saw another.
Well, how they beat Cincinnati, they're not doing to Texas Tech, so you can throw that into the garbage.
Yeah, you're not going to just sit
You're not
there
going
and
to
run over them.
No.
But the problem was the reason BYU was trying to run over Cincinnati was because Bear was not delivering the ball well. I did not think they threw the ball well.
I don't know. I'd be interested to get the coach's opinion on that, because did they see something on, like, Utah ran over Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is where Cincinnati is weak, and they have L.J. Martin. Did they go in there wanting to have the Bear throw it all over them, or did they go in there saying, we're just going to run over this team and take the W?
Yes, I understand that layout,
that make sense?
But what we actually saw in the game was Bear trying to throw the ball and missing wide open guys, or almost throwing it to Cincinnati. And had Cincinnati had a better defense, they would have gotten some more takeaways and could have put themselves in a position to win that.
If you're telling me that kind of performance won't beat Texas Tech, sure.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Ultimately, is that type of performance is not going to be good enough.
The whole team's going to have to play their best game.
Yes.
It's a conference title. I mean, I don't think that's all that controversial.
But BYU didn't play well against Texas Tech. They didn't play well against Cincinnati, I didn't think, and they still got the win. I don't know if they played great against Arizona. That's probably a better win than we recognized at the time. I didn't think the team as a whole, though I thought Bear played very well against West Virginia. I did not think they played well against Colorado. They are going to have to show some continuity or consistency that really has not been there as much as they've needed to. And when they have gotten their wins over good teams this season, Utah, Arizona, maybe that's it. Been really close wins, and I don't think that's how you're going to beat Texas Tech. Not that you're not going to beat them close. You're not going to blow them out, but you're not going to play the way they did against those teams and escape with the conference title.
Oh, I think that's exactly, well, making it ugly is exactly how they're going to beat Texas Tech, and then just make enough plays on offense to get over the hump, and that's how BYU wins games. But if you want to look at stretches of the Bear in particular, to beat Texas Tech, they're going to need second half against Iowa State Bear, where he was magic.
West Virginia Bear.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we can look at stretches that he played well or didn't play well, and I would also argue he didn't lose it against Cincinnati, which is important, because he could, at that possession, easily lose games for you. And he did not do that against Cincinnati. But you need more than that. You need second half Iowa State. And can he do that for a whole game against a defense like Texas Tech? I don't know. That's a tall order, especially for a freshman. But I think it's possible. Absolutely it's possible, especially if the coaches put him in the right position to do it, which maybe is impossible, I guess.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if the offensive line is good enough to give him that type of time. I don't know if his ability to run the ball will force the defense to pay attention to him enough to where he is able to throw the ball convincingly. I actually don't know if it's possible, to be honest with you. I think BYU has a chance that they're that overmatched against Texas Tech.
Maybe.
And Texas Tech might be that good. They have been really, really elite with the exception of one weird game this season.
Yeah, and in the Sugar Bowl season for the Utes, Derek Shelby was a 275-pound defensive tackle that had no business even not getting pancaked on one play. And he was awesome because they schemed him into the right position to be great. I mean, that's up to the coach. I guess that comes back to the game plan. I mean, this isn't their first game with their offensive line. You got to figure out a way to get it done. And they weren't that far off, in my opinion, against Texas Tech, the same way that Utah wasn't that far off against Texas Tech. It unraveled
29-7.
Forget about the final score, Ben. You watched the game too. It unraveled on both teams in the fourth quarter because they could not get anything going against Texas Tech's defense, which is the way that they win games.
Which is the design. Yeah, right.
Yes.
They're just going to suffocate you.
And that's fine. Their game plan worked fine.
I mean, that's not really what happened against. What was Texas Tech up? 19-0 going into the fourth quarter. That wasn't a close game. That wasn't even remote. You're right. It was close with Utah. It was 10-3. BYU was down 19-0. They got a nothing touchdown at the end of the game. They weren't in that game at any point. So I'll push back on that. Those weren't similar at all. BYU got their butts kicked. That game wasn't close at all.
They played. It was so. I remember the Monday after that game, we talked about how similar the two games were. So I mean, we can split hairs over that. The point is,
it was 26-0 before BYU.
The point is that Texas Tech is not invincible, in my opinion.
I agree.
If you want to stay on Utah, if they made 2 or 3 more offensive big plays in the third quarter, it could be an entirely different story.
Sure, yeah. If Utah makes a couple of plays in the fourth quarter, Utah had a chance to win that game. And that game was at Rice-Eccles. Texas Tech was playing at home in Lubbock. BYU was not in that game as a result, I think. But I do think it's fair to go back and look at what Texas Tech has done this season. And they haven't played anybody outside of Utah and BYU either. You know, that's the advantage that every team in the Big 12 has right now, is that the rest of the Big 12, outside of those 3 schools, Texas Tech, Utah, and BYU, are all quite lousy. But Texas Tech has won games 67-7, 62-14, 45-14, 34-10, 35-11, 42-17, 42-0, 43-20, 29-7, 48-9. Their loss is 26-22 on the road at Arizona State, which was shocking and a real credit for Arizona State and what they've done this year. But they have not been involved in close games at all this season.
Yeah, because their defense is really good.
And their offense is really good. They're scoring 40 points every game, and they're holding everyone to 14 or fewer. This Texas Tech team is playing at an absurdly high level.
We've seen front-running teams before. And, yes, their defense is absolutely elite. I think if Arizona State proved anything, is that if you can trade blows with them a little bit and slow down their offense,
and get to their backup quarterback,
then they could be in trouble. That backup quarterback carved up Utah,
he
so
did.
it's not like
Absolutely.
It's not like he was inept. Let's not pretend like that guy was not capable of winning a Big 12 game because he beat the third-place team in the Big 12.
He did.
So we can note that all day long. But I think you were arguing that he should be their starter after he beat Utah.
It did. It looked like that against Utah. It has not looked like that since.
I mean, so we can throw that out there, but I think that BYU is more than capable if they match up. And I want to say if because there is football to be played after all this weekend. And you got to keep your eye on the ball. But barring a catastrophe, that should be the matchup. And I think BYU can beat Texas Tech. Absolutely.
It's going to have to come out, like you said, and they're going to have to throw the ball all over. They're going to have to move the ball through the air. They are not going to be able to rely on L.J. Martin or Bear Bachmeier's ability to win the games with their legs. And that doesn't mean you could ignore that, but you do have to find a way to move the ball through the air, and that assumes that BYU's receivers are going to be healthy, which we don't know if that's the case.
No,
either.
Arizona State did what Utah couldn't. They loosened up Texas Tech because they had a quarterback that could make plays.
Mm-hmm.
Fact.
Yeah, absolutely.
BYU lost to Texas Tech in the first matchup because they ran their head against the wall 95 times or whatever. I'd have to go back and look at the box score. They didn't run it 95 times, obviously, but it wasn't going anywhere ever. So got to figure out something else.
BYU ran for 67 yards on 27 attempts. Yeah, they couldn't move the ball at all. They just running into a brick wall over and over and over.
Right.
And Bear threw for 188 yards.
Because they didn't want to sling it. And I think they're going to have to ride or die with the Frosh. And it was eventually going to come down to that at some point this season. And I think that's their way to win. I think BYU's defense is more than good enough to stand up against Texas Tech.
They held Texas Tech to 29 points. Again, they score 40 against basically everybody.
I think they're more than capable of putting a performance good enough to win. Can the offense figure out from the mistakes they made? And they're going to have a little blind faith. But at this point, I mean, Ben,
you've got nothing to lose. I think you have to win to get in. So yeah, you've got to go out there and just go. You should treat it like the Sugar Bowl. You're right, because who cares if Utah loses the Sugar Bowl? It was a big game. It was fun, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. So go out there and pull out all the stops. And obviously that's what BYU is going to do. And I do think that's actually where Kalani is at some of his best. I do think Kalani does know how to play to win games.
Listen, and Gunther used to talk about this stuff all the time when in relation to A-Rod as a coordinator, but the same philosophy applies. BYU is 10-1. Bear Bachmeier is good enough to get his team to 10-1. And you can go back and nitpick every performance all you want. But Isaac Wilson wasn't 10-1. We could go through a laundry list of sophomores and juniors that weren't 10-1, that really struggled and all of that. He is a true freshman who went 10-1 in the Big 12. I think that should inspire some confidence in the coaches that he can to let it loose and go out and make plays. And then if he loses it, that's a lesson you learn. In the Big 12 title game, which is a great place to learn that lesson instead of week 3 against whoever, East Carolina.
Again, this is the silly thing about the college football playoff is that we're acting like all of BYU's season and the success of it hinges on whether or not they make this arbitrary playoff. It doesn't.
It's already a success.
It's a huge success.
Yeah, and Utah's season's a success too.
You've both found a lot of talent. You have good quarterbacks that are going to be coming back next year. I don't know which one it's going to be at Utah, but you're good to have either one. You're going to be in good shape.
You hope it's not neither, which is a possibility.
Yeah, I guess that would be a very extreme outlier, but one of the two is going to say, well, I have a starting job at a place I've performed well and I'm going to get $1 million a year. It's a pretty good baseline, but Bear's going to be the guy for BYU for the foreseeable future, and he looks awesome doing it. Yeah, you're in great shape. Both of these schools have had really good years, and to have it overshadowed by what happens tonight by 13 people in the playoff committee tonight and a week from tonight, and then whatever the Sunday is after conference championship weekend when they decide all this nonsense is silly to me.
Well, they should they should work out a game plan they're thinking about for the title game against UCF. Again, no disrespect to UCF, but you should try out some things.
Yeah.
Against the Scarlet Knights.
Stay healthy.
And
That's
stay
what they
healthy.
should try.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stay healthy.
Absolutely. All right, stay tuned. We've got top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com coming up next. Yes, we will touch on last night's Jazz game against the Warriors because there are things to take from it, certainly. So stay tuned. It's Jake and Ben on a Tuesday, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is time for the top 3 stories of the day. KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Christian, where do you want to start today?
Number 1, the Jazz struggle on the road against Golden State.
That they did, Ben. They lost 134 to 117. Similar problems to some other recent losses. They can't keep anybody away from the basket, which is definitely an issue. They had some offensive lapses in this game, but Keontae George continues to be consistently good, which I do think is notable.
He's getting better.
His problem has been the roller coaster, and he's not on the roller coaster. It is consistent, it is effort, and even his bad games aren't so bad.
He was putting up big numbers early in the season, and his shot had not come around, which is not unusual for most NBA players. And it's really not uncommon for Keontae. He's generally a little bit of a slow starter before he dials in a shot. Over his last 5 games now, including last night, he's averaging 28.4 points per game, 7.4 assists, and he's shooting 49% from the floor and 39% from 3, which are all-star numbers, obviously. 28, 7 on nearly 50 and 40 is really, really impressive stuff.
But he's not giving up even when they're getting ragdolled, which I think is
No, in fact, he's
notable.
playing seemingly more mature.
Yeah.
He is not just saying, all right, well, I'm going to get mine. He got a little bit. I'm going to try and get 30 last night. He took a couple of shots that he doesn't usually take. And even then, I think he was 10 of 17 from the floor. So it's like, yeah, you have the grace. At this point, is the only player on the team who can generate their own offense. Actually, I think Ace Bailey can too, and the Jazz just aren't really running it for him, which I totally understand. 15 games into his NBA career. But, you know, it is the flaw with Lauri Markkanen. As good as Lauri has been, he is still very dependent on other people creating for him. And, you know, if you can get him in the post, if you can get it down low, he can turn and dunk on guys, but then you've sacrificed the spacing that he brings, and you might as well just play him at center. So I do think that continues to be one of the issues with Lauri, despite how well he's played this season, and that, you know, because the Jazz are switching so many things, you can get Steph Curry on him, and then Steph's just going to torch him. So at this point, Keontae George is playing like the Jazz's best player. And that means a lot of things, which is great that he's performing this well. If Keontae George is your best player in just his 3rd season in the NBA, it probably is an indicator that your team's headed for 23, 24 wins.
And then the other thing I would note is that Bryce Sensabaugh this year is last year's Keontae George. Not comparing their game necessarily, but Bryce actually had his head on straight for most of the 19 minutes that he played. Like, shot selection was pretty good. He was out there guarding. He made a couple of nice passes, but when that lapses and kind of goes away, he needs to consistently do that. So I thought that was the best game he's had maybe all year.
Yeah, he has not. He's been maybe the most disappointing player on the roster this season.
So,
I was expecting bigger things from him.
But he was not last night. He was good. 16 points in 19 minutes, fairly efficient shooting, 7 of 13, 2 of 5 from 3, and made some defensive plays.
And then as much as the Jazz wanted to turn the page on the 2024-25 season, the result of that season was that they got a young man named Ace Bailey, and I think, it's important to note that he has been probably everything they wanted and more since moving into the starting lineup, which is now 8 games, which is a reasonable sample size. It's half of his young career. He's averaging 14.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 2 assists, which don't sound like a lot, but you have to remember he's only playing 25 minutes a game. He's probably the 4th option on offense. He's shooting a very impressive 52% from the floor and 38% from 3 on 6 attempts a game. He's just really coming along exactly how you'd hope.
He's got the Kevin Durant thing going from the sense that his release point is so high.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, when he goes over a pick, or he gets a pick out there by the 3-point line, and I'm picturing that elbow. You might remember the play, Ben, where he just rose up basically after he cleared the pick.
He does the Matt Harpering shot. Everyone remembers the little Matt Harpering curl. It's just like 3 feet further back because that's where NBA offenses are now.
And it's like, if that's going to be a spot, like a thing for you, because it's not for most everybody. No. But if that's a thing for you, you can't really stop that.
No, there's a saying in the NBA that 2-point shots are for stars. If you're a role player, you got to be doing dunks or threes, and that should be the only shots you're taking. But those types of shots, those mid-range jumpers, are star quality shots because most guys can't hit them at a good rate. Ace right now is hitting them at a very high rate. Yeah. It's a really dangerous shot, and yes, you can run plays to get him into that space because teams don't guard it because the threes are so dangerous and dunks are so dangerous that they leave that open, and if he's just going to abuse you on it, he's going to be able to score 6 points, 8 points from there every night, and then you mix in the threes, you mix in the transition, you mix in the free throws, which will come. And yeah, you don't want to put the cart before the horse, but he's going to be a guy who's going to average 20 points a game in his sleep. The scoring tools are really absurdly high.
So that was the one play I wanted to point out. Then the other was his monster block. And where the game was kind of peaking on in an otherwise dull game, there was this peak of energy for the Jazz, and it surrounded that block. And it was like, okay, you can see the potential. You really can. You see certain plays every night. I thought even though he scored only 10 against the Lakers, I thought he had 2 or 3 plays in that game where you're like, oh, I get it.
No, he's playing really well. And again, one of the things I have said, I think I said it before the year, you shouldn't have to look for it. You shouldn't have to convince yourself that he's playing well. If you're a good young player, it should be really obvious when you're playing well. And every time he steps on the floor, he's doing something positive. And if not, unique in a good way that nobody else on the Jazz roster is doing.
Next.
Number 2, the Mammoth beat the Vegas Golden Knights behind another hat trick from Logan Cooley. In fact, he finished with 4 goals.
Bowman snowed under. Cooley at the empty net. Give him 4. Logan Cooley gets his 4th goal of the night.
First 4-goal game in team history. Again, they've only been around for 2 years. It's not that long. They've only had 4 hat tricks. Schmaltz has 1, Barrett Hayton has 1, and Logan Cooley now has 2. Logan Cooley is one of only 3 players in the NHL this year with 2 hat tricks. And it's Macklin Celebrini and Connor Bedard, who are the best young players in the league. I don't think Cooley is on that level as a scorer. Those two are truly, Celebrini might win MVP this year, but he's not that far off. That's the exciting thing about these young players.
Yeah, ride the wave with the NHL, right? The ups probably aren't as good as you think, and the downs probably aren't as bad. And just getting to know this a little bit, this team I think might be a little streaky.
And they're young. That's what young teams
forward. Do. Yeah. Can I give you 2 crowd observations from last night?
Oh, because you were at the game. That's right.
One, and I've noticed this before, but it was particularly evident last night. The music selection is, I like they lean into the hard rock and they play it very loud.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm into that. Second observation, the Vegas Golden Knights fans are a rough crowd. Good grief.
Yeah, the bunch of Aspires out there.
I had to look both ways before I crossed the hallway to go to the bathroom. I was like, good grief.
Yeah.
I think I saw a biker gang there rooting for the Golden Knights.
Third observation, a lot of androids.
A lot of androids. I went to the game on Saturday against the Rangers. They won 3-2. I sat behind a woman holding 2 androids. She had 2 phones with her, and they were both androids. I thought, what? This is just proving my point even more.
I don't see, who are you dragging with that comment?
I'm not dragging anyone. Not every observation's a drag.
Hockey fans?
Not every observation is a drag at all.
What message are you trying to say with that take?
I am not dragging anybody. I'm just, like Christian said, there's just more androids.
What's your point? And
no
that's
point. What's your point that it's a rough
what's
crowd?
What's your point saying, the Golden Knights
are rough people? Not everything has a point. It's observational humor.
Because one, you're dragging half the population.
It's not a drag.
And the other,
I'm just saying that half of the population goes to hockey games and the other half of the population has a good job.
Yeah, you're not dragging anybody.
I'm teasing.
By the way, are Androids that much cheaper than iPhones?
There's no difference at all. I'm sure there's absolutely no difference at all. It's just something I noticed. And yes, the girl in front of me had 2 Androids, and I thought it was funny because I knew that was something we had talked about previously. So not only did she have 1 Android, she had 2 Androids. She had the regular phone and the bat phone. Mammoth play Montreal coming up on Wednesday, tomorrow night, and then another long road trip at Dallas, at St. Louis, at San Jose, at Anaheim, at Vancouver, at Calgary. I swear they've played all these teams already on the road, not Dallas, but this is going to be a tough stretch again. So having a little momentum, if they can beat Montreal, they should feel relatively good about themselves because as much as they did not play particularly well over that last 6-game stretch before this current 2-game winning streak, they are in 4th place in the central position in the West at 27 points. So,
Next.
Number 3, Cincinnati Athletic Director released an apology for the hate speech towards BYU and the Latter-day Saints.
Leagues are just going to have to find it until it stops, if you think you can get it to stop.
Did they fine Cincinnati?
No, but that's what the league's going to have to do. If you care about stopping it, that's the only way. Going to the money is the only way you're going to get people to stop or kicking kids out of the game, and the kids probably don't care if they get kicked out of the game, especially a Cincinnati football game. So, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's not acceptable. It happens over and over. You're going to have to start taking it more seriously.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's probably. I'm trying to think because it's so repetitive at this point. It's trying to read into the broader perspective, like. Is it a PR problem or what? But honestly, it's something that it's like Dennis Lindsay's quest and Ryan Smith's to a certain extent of telling the world that we here in Utah and honestly, Latter-day Saints are perfectly normal people, and I don't understand why the rest of the country or whatever can't quite wrap their brains around it. But yeah, it's wholly inappropriate. I don't understand how it gets going. We said this, say what you will about Utah fans, and I guess I'm not all that wild about screaming bleep BYU on national television, but it's not bleep the Mormons, which is an entirely different message than I don't like my rival.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
My point is, even Ute fans who have this rivalry with BYU have an understanding that it's not. That's not appropriate and just terrible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't understand why in Cincinnati, of all places, or Colorado, for crying out loud, or Arizona, right? And by the way, is it just me or has BYU been playing in Arizona for years? Why is this just now a thing? I'm
guessing this is not just now a thing.
But I'm even on the side of, I thought that when the San Diego State student section dressed up like missionaries, that's funny and cute and understanding. You know what I mean? Like, there were some people who took offense to that. And it's like, oh, come on.
It's relatively harmless.
That's totally harmless.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? And if anything, a sign to you that your missionaries are out there invisible and people get the joke or the reference or whatever. We don't need to be prudes about everything. Honestly, I believe that. I believe in the gentle ribbing between schools. It's part of what being a college sports fan is all about. But I think everybody knows where the line is. But then again, like, I've been at press conferences where Phil Jackson makes Mormon jokes, and it's like, are we just everybody okay with that? I mean, Christian's hero, the writer in Denver, what's his name from Around the Horn?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you got it right.
Yeah. Like that guy writing a whole column about it when the Olympics, like, that stuff isn't okay. Why is it the last group of people in this country that you can get away with doing that sort of thing? I don't know. But I'm with you. I don't think people should get away with it. So if that's the conference fining and that's what it takes, I guess. But this one baffles me because it's not really hard. It's not hard to leave religious groups out of
your chance.
It's not really difficult to find a better chant to properly, I don't know, express your displeasure for your loss. It's not really difficult.
Yeah, it's not more complicated than you got to find the schools and you got to kick out the kids who are doing it. Or whoever's doing it. Maybe it's not the kids. Whatever. Yeah, that's how you have to do it. That's how you have to approach it. If you want to put an end to it, if you actually care to put an end to it, you do. And if you don't care to put an end to it, then don't do anything.
Well, they haven't really done anything, or nobody's really, other than statements which really don't do it for me. I don't know about you. But then again, we're familiar with it. We live here. We love it here.
Yeah.
We love the people here. We love the people we talk to and work with.
Well, Colorado got fined $50,000.
Did they? Okay.
When this happened earlier this year. So let's see what happens to Cincinnati, and then you just have to start bumping it up to it's $250,000 every time, and just say, yeah, you guys are either going to police it and you're going to, employ enough security at these games to stop it, or you're going to pay $250,000 fines every time. If you care about it, that's what they can do.
Maybe that this is a situation where my prescription for fixing the streaking problem is.
You're talking about the stocks.
Well, like severe public beatings.
Yeah.
I think that would get it done.
Next time your team goes on the road at Provo, you have to sit in the stocks outside LaBelle Edwards Stadium.
That works.
Problem is, the people are too nice. They'd be like, "Oh,
can I get you some
can
water,
I get you
pal?
some food? You look cold. What's your
You want
favorite
some
type
BYU
of blanket?"
Creamery ice cream?
Yeah, right. I'll bring you a
and-
cougar tail and a minky.
And you know what?
This is the best reward I've ever gotten.
Like people were pointing out too that apparently the church donated. I can't remember the dollar figure, but Cincinnati has this philanthropy where they do food, like food pantry stuff. And so the church donated, I can't remember what it was. Maybe we can Google it real quick. But it was like $50,000 worth of food or something crazy. And they put it out, the video. You can see them unloading the trucks and all that. It's like, these people are very nice.
Yep.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
The stocks.
Bring them back.
Yeah, bring them back. I like that. It is a Tuesday, meaning it's a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. You're going to win 2 tickets to go see the Jazz and the Kings on Friday at Delta Center. 801-575-ZONE. Great way to spend your Friday after Thanksgiving. Make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
801-575-ZONE. Stay tuned. More next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nobody gets you ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready?
The regular season comes to an end for Kyle Whittingham and the Utes as they hit the road for a battle against Kansas. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you to join Hanson Scotty from noon to 3 at Tim Daly Nissan Southtown. Coming up today, 11155 South Jordan Gateway in South Jordan. Tim Daly, home of the Forever Warranty. Ben, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but Utah, and BYU for that matter, I should say, caught a break with the Mighty Ducks of Oregon trouncing the Trojans of USC.
Yeah.
Once again, Stinkin' Riley comes up short in a big game.
It's kind of his thing.
Yeah, I don't think he's won a big game since he has been coach at USC. Honestly, we can go back and look at it. But, I mean, think about it. They didn't play anybody the season that they played Utah in the Pac-12 title game. If you go back and look at their schedule, it was absolutely nothing except for Utah, who beat them twice.
6-13 against ranked teams during the Lincoln Riley era at USC. That stinks.
Stinks.
6-13 is bad, actively bad. You're not Arizona, right? Arizona 6-13. That
right.
means you beat Cincinnati when they're ranked 22. You
Or
sneak
even-
a win over whatever.
Even like a mid-level team.
No, you're
But
USC.
you're USC.
You're
right.
supposed to be ranked every week, forever, every preseason, every week during the season, every college football playoff ranking. You're supposed to be in the conversation. And if you're that good, you should beat most of the teams on your schedule.
Let alone
regardless what their ranking is.
losing to Utah twice.
Yeah.
And missing out on a college football playoff that year. And then now losing to Oregon to miss out on a college football playoff this year. And not only that, but they got trounced. And they got trounced right out of the gate. And Stinkin' didn't show up. So you could imagine Ben. He was probably a little grumpy in after the game and in the post-game press conference. Now, let's play you a clip here. Now, a reporter asked a question, and we're not going to air the question because you can't really hear it, but he asked Stinkin about a sign making fun of Stinkin during college game day.
As everyone does.
So this is how Stinkin Riley handled that.
That might be the dumbest question I've been asked as long as I've been a head coach, and I've been asked a lot of questions. You ought to feel a little embarrassed to ask that question. This is a professional thing. You ought to try it.
All right.
Okay. Now, it is a professional thing. Now, part of the story that you don't know is the reporter is some freelance guy who paid his way to go to Eugene to cover the game for some website that nobody reads.
Is that the truth? Is that what we think?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the guy tweeted about it.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, thanks for saying that. I'm really just somebody who's basically trying to break into the business by putting in some sweat equity. And listen, was it the most appropriate question to ask Stinkin' Riley after that particular game? Probably not.
Yeah.
Did you see what the sign said?
I did not.
It basically said, "Thank you for keeping Lincoln Riley at USC."
Oh.
Which
Okay.
is hilarious.
That is funny.
Yeah, I mean, is it the most relevant question to ask after that game? Probably not. I don't think I would have asked that question. I don't know if he found that relevant to his readers or whatever.
Okay, it's Adam Bradford. He's a USC alum, and he covers USC. Yeah, so for Trojans Wire.
Right. And he said on Twitter, he paid his way to cover the game. So this is not Bob Redford's character from that one movie.
What movie?
Where he plays a reporter. He takes down Nixon.
All the President's Men?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, you're right. This is not Woodward or Bernstein.
Neither one.
Not much less both.
No.
Yeah.
Not that. It's just a guy who's
Some dude.
trying to make it.
Some kid.
And so, honestly, I learned this from covering Greg Popovich in playoff series. Listen, you're not going to get great questions all the time. Don't clown people. Why are you clowning this guy? You just pantsed him on national television for what? Because he asked a question you didn't like? That's more about you than it is about that reporter. And I just don't think that's a way to treat people. And Lincoln says, professional. This is treat him like a professional. He's just a guy who's trying to cover your program, you bozo. What's the matter with you? And you know what it totally reminded me of? It totally reminded me of when Jim Boylan went after Gordon. And here's what people don't remember because we all get caught up in the ball didn't go in the hoop. And we can play the whole thing and have a laugh. But a student reporter asked Jim Boylan a question, and he totally went after this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, completely unprofessionally went after this guy. And what people miss about Gordon is that Gordon was standing up for this person that Jim Boylan was humiliating for no reason.
Yeah.
And so here's that clip so we can all have fun with a memory.
Coach, you started that second half missing your first 12 shots. Explain how you were feeling during that run.
Like, that's how I was feeling. How am I supposed to answer that? How would you be feeling?
What was the reason for the offensive inefficiency, Jim?
Ball didn't go in the hoop.
Why not?
Ball didn't go in the hoop.
Were you happy with the schemes?
Next question.
Coach,
Don't come here once every 2 years and ask those questions. I don't want to hear that from you.
I can ask the question.
Good,
That's
ask.
fine.
I'm not answering it. Don't come here once every 2 years. I don't want to hear that from you.
Break.
Yeah. I see you to show up.
Show some class.
Legendary. Yeah.
Incredible.
Stays
But why
funny.
is Jim going after? Okay, the question where he said, "How were you feeling?" is not. That is never a good way to frame a question.
No, it's a terrible
just
question.
not.
Unfortunately,
It's not-
the kid asked a bad question.
He did. And honestly, it wasn't the only bad question asked at that press conference. I am sure.
Yeah.
You don't go after somebody like that. That's totally inappropriate.
Yeah. Again, part of the deal when you're doing college sports is you are getting kids like the Trojans Wire kid, and I get he's
And
paid
it's
his
more
way
true
or
now
whatever.
than it used to
It
be.
is more now, but there are kids from the local paper, the school paper, cutting their teeth, trying to learn how to do this type of stuff. And you know what? You got to play along. And the kid asking Lincoln Riley if he saw the sign at College Game Day is, yes, that's a stupid question. It's a bad question. I get why Lincoln Riley said what he did. Going back to Jim Boylan, his response it's pretty pathetic. But Jim Boylan was a pathetic person.
But what did they have in common? It was coming undone on Jim Boylan.
Right.
Like, he was not long for that job at that point. He had just lost to BYU. He probably knew it. And stinking, if they could afford to fire him, they would have done it yesterday. He just lost another big game. He's about to cancel the Notre Dame USC rivalry. Like, bozo material. Bad fit at USC.
Dan Lanning had this to say about Lincoln Riley and the USC program before their matchup.
They're living off their history. Matt Leinart, he ain't walking through there. Reggie Bush ain't going to show up. But I'll tell you who he is. Dante Moore's going to show up. Bryce Betcher going to show up. Poncho going to show up. Blake Purchase going to show up. We got the Warriors necessary to go walk out there and deliver. Understand something. Why are you wearing black? You're going to a Trojan funeral.
He is right that they are living off of their history. There is nothing promising coming out of USC. As long as Lincoln Riley is there, he doesn't know how to do this. He's not going to right this ship. Do you know how much better they would be with Kalani Sitake as their head coach?
Light years better.
With an identity, with a culture, with a recruiting concept of what he wants to build as a team, what he thinks the strengths could be. Lincoln Riley really feels like he's just throwing darts. I mean, it's wild how incompetent he's been at a job that he's doing exactly the baseline level job. The performance he's getting out of his team with the talent they have and the money they have to spend is what is truly replacement level. It's bizarre.
He was a bad hire from the beginning because he is a bad fit. I mean, I guess I wasn't aware how bad his personality would be a fit there, but his whole scheme, like, Ben, you don't hire John Grisham to write a poetry book.
Right.
You don't hire. If you're USC, the thing is USC hasn't changed. The ability for USC to get players in their rep, and here's where Dan Lanning's right. They're all living on the history and all that stuff. But everyone who grows up in LA still wants to play football at USC. That's still a fact.
Absolutely.
They still have a ton of financial
They're a top 10
resources.
name value in the country by far.
They literally have no excuse not to be a top 10 team every year because they still have all of these built-in advantages that other schools don't have. But if you can get the biggest, strongest, fastest football players in college football running the air raid, we're going to tickle you to death offense with the softest coach in college football, makes no sense at all. None. It makes sense maybe at Oklahoma, although they didn't really win anything. They rode on their history to get to some big games where they got absolutely trounced.
Yeah.
You do it at Washington State.
Yep.
You do it at a place where you need a gimmick. You run the option at Air Force. At USC, you're recruiting, what was that roided out Cush guy? Remember him? What a monster he was? Cushing.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I mean, we go through the list, but, Troy Polamalu and all these unbelievable players. Why would you just give up on defense and be like, okay, we're going to have a super soft defense? You know how Utah beat USC those years? Because they didn't stop Utah. And Utah's offense, while pretty good for Utah, was not an elite offense. In fact, you could make an argument that this year's offense is far more elite than that.
You don't have to argue. It's
Cam Rising offense was.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to get lost in those weeds, but you could make that argument. But USC couldn't stop anyone. Do you remember after the pig farmer beat him, and we're like, did they really let the pig farmer run for 20 yards to beat him? Remember that? Mm-hmm. Where he's just scampering all the way down the field. Now, Bryson Barnes has turned out to be a fairly capable runner, so don't get me wrong.
You're right. Bryson Barnes is a very good quarterback on a 6-win Utah State team, not a guy who goes into USC and beats them by himself.
But USC had to make a play. The game was on the line, and the pig farmer is out there running for his life, and nobody was around.
Yeah.
He's like,
it's a joke.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to get 20.
It's
a total joke. And so for him to treat people badly because of his failure, no matter how much he didn't like the question, is petty and silly.
They've been bailed out by the fact that just by being a part of the Big Ten, they have some view of not even excellence, but legitimacy. But outside of that and upgrading their conference around them, It's just been an absolute disaster with Lincoln Riley at the helm. Truly, disaster.
So he's got to go, and they need a coach like, well, honestly, I mean, this sounds silly, but Nick Saban. Somebody who's going to coach an elite defense and have a pro-style offense that's just going to run over everybody and put NFL quarterbacks into the league one after the other. Which is, hey, the Raiders should honestly fire Pete Carroll, and they should just hire Pete Carroll again.
Go get Chip Kelly.
He's available.
He's available.
But honestly, Chip's not what they need either.
No, of course
He's a
not.
gimmick
That's
too.
the joke. He's a gimmick. Yeah, that's the problem. Is that's how they keep trying to fix it. They don't just do the obvious answer, which is the right answer.
They don't need a gimmick. They need
Kalani.
Well, yeah.
And again, they're not going to get Kalani, so good for them. But yeah, that's who they need.
You
need
that
the
type of
50-year-old
coach.
who develops a great culture, cares about defense, happy to run the ball, and coaches to win games.
Because USC, it should be a really simple place to win. It's not hard to draw up a game plan when all of your players are bigger, stronger, and faster than the other team. You don't need to overthink it, Stinkin'. No, you don't. And certainly don't abandon the defensive side of the ball, which always seemed absolutely crazy to me. And lost them the Pac-12 title.
Yep, it did.
All right, stay tuned. We've got the Big 12 Power Poll coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.